Good morning. If any survivors would like to speak after the senator and the assemblywoman, please stand to the side. But we're about to get started. Wherever there's room.
They're good.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Vanessa Neal. I'm an attorney with Herman Law, and I represent survivors of childhood sexual abuse. This proposed bill clarifies that when a city or a county takes custody of a child, that city or county assumes custody of that child, maintains custody of that child, and owes that child a non-delegable duty, regardless of whether that county places the child itself into foster care or contracts with an agency for the placement of that child. The county remains liable for any foreseeable harm that would happen to that child, such as sexual abuse in the foster home. While the county may contract with the nonprofit organization for the placement, they never forfeit custody of that child. The county cannot simply claim that it is no longer liable for the safety of this child by virtue of the contract. The county remains the custodian of the child in their care. This proposed bill does not reopen the Child Victims Act. Rather, it clarifies that counties owe the same duty to all children in its custody, no matter who the placement agency was. In either scenario, the county remains the child's custodian and the entity responsible for removing the child from an unsafe placement. Today, we are surrounded by brave survivors of childhood sexual abuse. We're going to hear from some of them, and we are going to hear from members of legislature who are in support of this bill. The survivors in this room are all impacted by the current uncertainty of the law. First, we're going to hear from Assemblymember Rosenthal. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal. I represent the Upper West Side, parts of Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan, and I was the Assembly sponsor of the Child Victims Act, as well as the Adult Survivors Act, and I'm proud to be here with all of these survivors and advocates to ensure that every single person who filed under the Child Victims Act to seek justice is granted just that. I want to be clear. No survivor of childhood sexual abuse should ever be prevented from seeking justice simply because they were in the foster care system at the time of their abuse. Passing the Child Victims Act into law in 2019 took more than a decade of advocacy and hard work. And survivors had to come up to Albany multiple times, tell their story, and advocate for the vast number of people who would have been affected by the law. And we saw the courthouse doors finally open to more than 10,000 survivors of terrible abuse, which, because of a restrictive statute of limitations, had been told it was too late, and they could not bring lawsuits against their abusers and the institutions that were negligent and allowed this abuse to happen. Some of those cases occurred with children who were in foster care, and the CVA provided them a long-awaited opportunity to sue the public entities, the counties, and the cities that placed them and you in these homes or facilities and put them in harm's way. Government entities have always been responsible for the children in their custody. And in instances of the horrible abuse, those public entities must be held accountable. Yet, as all of you know too well, because of the conflicting court rulings, the future of your claims is uncertain and have created delays for cases that really should just move forward. So when the Child Victims Act look-back window opened, thousands of people had to decide, do I come forward or not? And as you know, many people had put all of this part of their lives in the back of their minds because it was too horrific to cope with. It was too hard to try to live with the constant reminder. But people came out, and some feared they wouldn't be believed. Some feared how it would impact them and their families. Disclosing a secret that they were told over and over again was not to be told to anyone. And their bravery still is with me. And so this bill is a natural outgrowth of that effort. The Child Victims Act window was put out there, was passed to help survivors. And it's such a terrible thing that many are not able to access justice. So my legislation with Senator Sepulveda would clarify that public entities are in fact responsible for the children in their custody, and that survivors who were abused in foster care can continue to seek justice from those entities. I extend my heart to all of you, and I will fight as hard as I always do for survivors to get this bill passed. I want to thank you for your bravery of coming forward, coming from far and wide in this country to stand for justice for yourselves, but also for all the other people who don't speak up, who can't speak up, who are relying on us to help them move forward in their quest for justice. Thank you.
Very good. Very well stated.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Luis Sepulveda. I am a state senator in the 32nd District in the Bronx. And I want to start by saying that my heart goes out to each and every one of you. It really does. I can really sense and feel your pain. I can sense it, and my heart really goes out to each and every one of you. You know, there's nothing more difficult, nothing more heinous in the world than to abuse a child, especially sexually, in any way. And as my colleague said, Assemblywoman Rosenthal, we worked on the Child Victims Act together, and that was one of the most proud moments of my life, being able to be a sponsor of that bill and work to get it to the finish line. But today, I'd like to talk about something that should unite each and every one of us, and that's protecting children and young people in custody of the state of New York. The bill, I know that the Assemblywoman explained some of it, it's about ensuring that every child under the state care is treated with dignity, safety, and respect. Whether in foster care, juvenile detention centers, or mental health programs, these children depend on the system to protect them. We have a responsibility to make sure that that protection is real. When the state takes custody of a child, it also takes on a direct responsibility for that child's well-being. There can be no excuses when negligence, abuse, or mistreatment occurs. This legislation strengthens oversight, increases accountability, and ensures that victims and their families have access to justice when the system has failed them time and again. It is very personal to me to make sure that the bill becomes law. I have family members that have been victim of sexual abuse as children who I know want me to push and work for this bill with every ounce of energy that I have. And I promise to all of you, each and every one of you, that I will do everything possible, and I will work with my colleagues in the Senate so that one day we're together celebrating this law. Thank you all. God bless you.
Good morning. I'm Assemblywoman Judy Griffin, and I represent Nassau County on Long Island. And I want to thank you all for being here today. Thank the sponsors in the Assembly and the Senate for carrying this legislation, and really applaud you all for your bravery and courage to come out here and speak on behalf of yourself or a family member who was sexually abused as a child or later. And I feel for all of you for this experience. Very serious, very heartbreaking matter. And so I'm proud to be a co-sponsor of this bill. And, as far as I'm concerned, we should do everything we can to prevent any child abuse, sexual abuse. And children in foster care should be afforded the same rights and remedies under law as everyone else. Entities, whether governmental or not, need to be held accountable and make restitution when they put these vulnerable children in harm's way. Families, sometimes there's situations, you have children that need foster care, but everyone should feel that they can trust their children in foster care. And there are wonderful families in foster care, but these situations cannot go made unaccountable. The Child Victims Act was clearly designed to get justice for children who were abused in any way, sexual, any type of abuse. To exclude certain children from this law is unconscionable. And so I will do everything I can to help Assemblymember Rosenthal get this bill to the floor, get it passed, and, cheer on the Senate for passing it as well. So thank you all.
Thank you all for speaking. Just one moment.
Hi, my name is Eve. I was in foster care when I was 4 years old. I had a sibling that was with me in foster care, and unfortunately, she did not make it. The system broke her so bad that she became a drug addict. She got AIDS, and she died when she was 49. She was my best friend, and I protected her. And, today, I need this bill to be passed for everybody that comes after me, because it's not about me anymore. I've already been through the trauma. I just don't want any other children to experience what I've experienced. And I thank you guys for helping us pass this bill, because it's very, very important. And we, as survivors, we have to be grateful that we're still here, and we have our voices now, and we can help other children, and that's my goal in life. Thank you so much.
I want to thank the legislators here today who are fighting for justice for us survivors. I was contracted out by the city of New York to a nonprofit. I and my little sister were sexually abused, and I disclosed the abuse, and nothing happened. They left. I had to leave, but my little sister remained in the foster home. Well, she remained there for years. So I had to resort to my own actions. I used to fish. I knew how to gut fish. I went back to my foster father, confronted him. I looked him in the eye, and I said, "If you touch my sister again, I'll kill you." I don't remember if I had the knife on me or not. My next action was, you know what? I have to arrange a runaway, which I did. And I told her, "Tell Mommy you're going to the store, and then I'll pick you up." And I took my little sister away from that horrible place. But this is the actions I had to resort to, because nobody helped me to protect my sister. So thank you so much for fighting for us.
Good morning. My name is RT, and I don't know about anybody else, but I'm a minister, so this is going to be real emotional. And I stand for custody without accountability. And the reason why I'm standing here today is because I was raped, I was abused, I was drugged, and it took me from my children. My children were all taken from me. I felt every day that I was in prison. I'm still in prison. So I thank Mr. Herman, most of all, Miss Miranda, and whoever brought me to speak out. Because if I didn't, I would be nobody. And that's what they used to tell me. I'm nobody. And I would reply back, who are you? Are you nobody too? Because I am somebody. I am my mother's child. I came from a broken home, but I asked these people to care for me, and instead they took advantage and they used their power to abuse me and others. And we got the rear end of the stick. I'm tired of the rear end of the stick. It's not for me. It's not for my kids. It's not for Mr. Herman either, because he's been fighting for a while. 8 years. I've been waiting 8 long years to be with my children. So today, as I stand here in front of you guys, I'm asking for this bill to be passed because I'm broken. There's no amount of money or no dollar sign that's going to fix me. You don't fix broken crayons because guess what? Broken crayons, they still color. And I am one of those crayons, and I still color. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is CG. I'm here today because I want to speak for what had happened to me and hold the government accountable because I was in their custody. And yes, I've been very angry. I worked on myself. I was imprisoned because of the anger. I want justice. I didn't have justice. And until this lawsuit came around, I was able to have justice. And I want to thank all the senators. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to hold, thank you, to hold these people accountable because I was in their custody. They had a duty of care for every child from the past, present, and the future. I love kids, I worked with kids, and I want them to be safe now and forever. And I told several times what had happened to me, turned a blind eye every single time, and it's got to stop. So please, don't let this bill go another day. And pause, because I'm speaking for the kids for the future and today, because it's all over national news that these kids are still being held captive. And it will stop. I believe this. Thank you.
My name is HC. I was placed in foster care with a man with a criminal background who sexually assaulted, kidnapped, and trafficked me. He, to another state. He then committed some other crimes, and I served 30 plus years because of that. This bill can hold those entities, that didn't protect me, or the systems that failed me, and all the other children that are going through the same things now. We have to fix it. We have to make sure that there's not another one like me, like her, like them. but the only ones that can do it is us. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And I pray that we're successful.
My name is Renee Washington. I want to know, what would you do if it happened to you? Would you be able to retain information so you can graduate school? If it was you, would you be able to teach your children and train them up properly when you are continuously suffering from the sexual torment that you experienced as a child? I feared everything and everyone all the time. You all robbed me of my innocence. There is no way to qualify what was taken from me as a child. Every day I learned a little bit more about myself that I didn't know all these years ago. It took me many years to be able to explain what truly happened to me, being raped by different men at 5 years old and foster care. I never even knew the term of survival mode. I only pray that the children and the generation behind me never experience the suffering I did in silence all those years because of your foster care system that you lacked. How many of us come from foster care agencies that going to keep covering up, shifting the blame from one buck to another, playing chess with our lives like we meant nothing to you all were responsible for each of us in your custody. We all mattered. Be accountable. You dropped that ball, and now we all suffered and paid the price for it. And now, to this day, your negligence continues to run on. I am fighting for the child that no one fought for. And you don't get to hide it. Renee Washington, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Barbara. I'm 46, and I'm a mother of two daughters, 27 and 13. I'm here today to share my story with you, not just on behalf of myself, but for the countless children that have been failed by the foster care system. In 1986, at age 6, I was wrongfully removed from my biological mother. Myself and my sister, who was 5, she had injured herself, prompting us to go to the ER. At a New York City hospital, they examined us both. Finding no evidence, we were still removed and put into the foster care system. Over 9 months, a little under a year, myself and my sister suffered repeated abuse by our foster mother and her son and daughter. During these times, in her house on Sampson Street in the Bronx, I was trafficked while drugs and brought to private homes of many different older men. Most were doctors, lawyers, judges, or teachers. Reminded me of like a president in a nice suit with like a nice red tie. Someone you see on TV. I was photographed a lot, mostly nude, and forced into many sexual acts. Ms. Ramos, my foster mother, kept both myself and my sister on heavy drugs on heavy drugs to ensure our compliance. I remember sleeping a lot and waking up in huge different homes that remind me of castles, because I'm 6 years old, so I'm tiny, so these remind me of like Cinderella type of castles, places. She would mostly put the drugs in our food, and I did tell my social worker that I did see Miss Ramos crush something and put it in my food. My social worker did not believe me and told my foster mother. That night she left, and I was severely beaten that evening, the next day, and didn't eat. And so I went to school the following Monday. That was just one of the ways she enjoyed punishing me while I was in a New York City foster care system. This is a woman they ran a background check on. They took me from my biological mom and put me into a family that abused us, trafficked us, hurt us. The government had one job. It was to place us with a loving family. Instead, we were placed in hell for 9 months, which has left scars on my life for the rest of my physical life on this earth. I will always sleep with the bathroom light on. I'll have PTSD at every loud noise, not be able to have a normal relationship because of the trauma I endured in the formative years of my life. My children's life had been directly affected due to my diagnosed many mental health issues. We'll just move on from those, and now I want to live happily, give my daughters the life they deserve, and give so many others help through my outreach programs. I now work in psychology, but it is time. It's like enough is enough. It is time. Accountability must be taken, especially in a hiring process from the city standpoint, for the children's protection, these individuals that care for our future leaders. We must take a stand for the less vulnerable and ensure proper familial home structural. This has to be mandatory. It's needed to grow into decent human beings that are going to lead our future. So today I urge you to please pass legislation for strict oversight, transparency, and accountability in New York City foster care system. Survivors like myself, my sister, and so many others must be able to access trauma-informed resources and pursue our justice. Your action, our action today, can prevent children from enduring what Lisa and I experienced. We can change. We can start this change today. The time is now. Thank you all for listening to everything I have to say. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. I'm Suzanne Robertson. I spent 10 years in the foster care system. When I was 6 years old, my father stood in a courtroom and they told him he wasn't capable of caring for his own children. My mother had a nervous breakdown. Family court gave me a life sentence. To this day, I'm 75 years old. And I live it every day. And when I grew up, I opened 2 adult family homes for disabled adults to ensure that none of them ever experienced what I did. I had it for 35 years, finally retired when I was 65. They need to pass this bill. Every child who lives in foster care deserves respect. They deserve to not be tortured beyond means. I told 3 social workers what they were doing. They all called me liar. One Albany County social worker actually looked me in the face, kneeling in front of me, asking about my black and blue face. I told her that none had beaten me. And she looked at me and she said, "Oh, little girl, how could you tell such terrible lies about these wonderful women who gave up their lives to take care of you when your own parents didn't even want you?" I never knew they didn't want me. And it wasn't true. Please pass the bill. They need it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tammy, and I'm a survivor of sexual assault. When I was 2 years old, I was taken from my parents and placed with a family member, which was unsafe. I went back to live with my biological mom, and it was even more unsafe. I went to school and told the school what was happening to me. And they took me from my home and they put me in foster care for a short period of time. They sent me back home to the environment that I came from, that I was running from. When I was 14, I was sent back into foster care, where I was sexually assaulted by someone there. I had a whole thing to read, and it just doesn't feel right. I stand here today, a 62-year-old woman, still broke from what happened to me. I asked for help, and I didn't get it. I got put somewhere where I was injured even more. This bill needs to be passed, not just for us, but for the future of the children who are in foster care still. And these things are still happening to them. The foster care system failed me, the counties failed me, and it was multiple counties. I was not in a good place at home, and I was not in a good place in foster care. No one heard my cries, and no one cared. They didn't protect me. And because they didn't protect me, I suffered a lot in my life. And the people that I love suffered because I suffered. This has to change. The cycle needs to be broke. Our children are our future. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael. I'm here to talk to you and to express what happened to me as a child. When you grew up in New York City, you grew up in a place that's, in itself, it was horrific in the 70s and the early 80s. It was very different. So when you look at television, you look at the movies, and you see the Brady Bunch and everybody else having these great families, and everything's beautiful, green lawn, it's wonderful. I was taken to Long Island by the organization called Little Flower. And this organization picked me up from Brooklyn, put me in a car, and with my sister, and drove me to Long Island. When I pulled up to this house, it was beautiful. It was the most beautiful house I've ever seen. It was like the Brady Bunch. Finally, opportunity, life itself. Picket fence, pool in the backyard, basketball court. It was wonderful. It was just like, oh my God, it was a dream come true. Coming from the hood to that. And next thing you know, the mother wanted me to call her mom while she was abusing me. And for 3 years straight, 4 or 5 times a day, I was abused. I couldn't have a girlfriend. I couldn't have any type of relationship with anybody because she would get jealous, hang up the phone. We would have sex all over the house while her husband was there, while the kids were in the living room. It was horrific. It was torture. But at the same time, it was wonderful because this was this woman who knew everything about the body and showed me everything. For many years, it stayed with me. Even when I went to another foster home, she still followed me. And to this day, she's with me every time, or the moment of every day. If I have a girlfriend, I try getting married, but every time I try to be with my wife or my girlfriend, she would appear. She never left me. She's there. Those women became her every moment. So how can I have a relationship with somebody? And if I would tell somebody, look, this is what happened to me when I was a little boy, who wants a broken person? They're going to fear their children or your children. You might become the abuser at one point because it's normal. It becomes a normal thing. And then it continued. Later on in life, I was working with other people. They found out that I was abused, so they started trafficking me to other people, to other women. Yes, those people. like Martin Scorsese, director of film, P. Diddy, Epstein, they were all involved in this whole thing. Don't think that they're not. They are. So she's with me forever. She would never leave me. So please pass this bill. Because this is a forever thing for us. It could never go, and it will never die unless we die. Please, thank you very much.
My name's Mary Jane Conklin. My abuse started when I was 5 years old. I was in and out of foster homes. My abuse started in the home. And they made my family, with my own family members, they made it look all right. When they would come into the homes, they make everything hunky-dory, everything was good. They'd send me back home every single time. It just happened over and over and over. One time I even went to stay with my father in a totally different state with promises. He's gone, you can go home, you can go home. The foster kid, the counties knew, the lawyers knew, the social workers knew. They knew everything. They turned a blind eye on all of it, pretended it didn't happen. I have a sister. The same thing happened to her. She's my twin. And right now she's fighting with the statute of limitation. That's where hers came in. Because this started with me in 2016. I was 5 when this started. I'm 59 now. I want this law to go through to protect everyone. Everyone, all the children out there. Go into the homes, even if they say their families are safe. Some people, their families aren't safe. I was abused by uncles. Cousins, it didn't matter. They didn't care. Your home life looks good, the house is good, your rent's paid. They made it look good. They set up a good picture for everyone to believe. But the foster care system was responsible for that. It was their job to protect me. It was their job to protect my siblings. And they need to be held accountable for their actions. Because what they did was wrong.
Hi, everyone. My name is ELA. I was a child. I was in foster care. I was abused while I was in the government's care by someone the government chose to place me with. I was removed from my home because of abuse, neglect, and unsafe living conditions, only to be placed into foster homes where I experienced the same abuse, and in some cases, even worse abuse. No child should ever be taken from one dangerous environment and placed directly into another. That should never happen to anyone, especially children who are already vulnerable and dependent on the system for protection and safety. I was moved from one abusive foster home to another, never having stability or a true sense of security. One of the hardest parts was being repeatedly placed back into the same home where the abuse was happening. Each time I spoke up or tried to explain what I was experiencing, I hoped someone would finally protect me. Instead, being sent back made me feel like no one believed me or that my pain did not matter. While I was in foster care, under the government's watch, and at the extremely young age of only 10 years old, my virginity was taken from me by an adult I thought was supposed to care for me. Despite the warnings, concerns, and repeated opportunities for intervention, I continued to be placed back into dangerous environments. Throughout my time in foster care, the county, city, and public agencies responsible for my welfare always maintained custody and legal responsibility over me, even when private, nonprofit organizations or contracted agencies handled placements and supervision. Those public entities still had a duty to ensure my safety and well-being. The repeated failures to protect me, properly investigate abuse, and prevent me from being returned to unsafe environments caused lasting harm. Accountability should not fall solely
on the nonprofit organizations involved, but equally on the county, city, and public entities that oversaw my care and continue to place me in dangerous situations despite clear warning signs. It is long overdue for the county, city, and public entities responsible for children in foster care to be held accountable, not only for what happened to me, but to help protect the children who come after me. No child should repeatedly beg for help, report abuse, and still be sent back into harmful environments. The systems and agencies entrusted with protecting vulnerable children must be responsible when they fail to act, ignore warning signs, or allow abuse to continue unchecked. This bill says what every person here already knows. If you take custody of a child, you are responsible for that child. You cannot hand the child over to a contractor and just simply disappear. Not legally, not morally. This bill gives children like me, children who were failed by the system, the right to have our cases heard by a jury. We are not asking for special treatment. We are asking for the same access to justice that every other survivor of child sexual abuse already has. I'm standing here today because what happened to me happened on the government's watch. I am not here for sympathy. I am here for accountability. Every day this bill does not pass, another survivor is being told their case doesn't matter because of a legal loophole. You have the power to close that loophole today. Please use it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Les, and I'm here to speak for my wife, Eileen, because of the lasting effect of her childhood abuse she endured, including PTSD, severe anxiety, and fear of crowds. She is unable to stand here and speak these words herself. Here are her words. Childhood abuse does not end when the abuse stops. It follows you. It stays with you in your thoughts, in your body, in the way you move throughout the world. It can take your voice, your sense of safety, and even moments like this. Many survivors live with these invisible wounds every single day. For some of us, just being in the space like this feels overwhelming. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about what it means for a grown adult to still be afraid because of what was done to them as a child. Yes. I'm here today, not just for myself, but for every child who didn't have a voice, and every survivor still trying to find theirs. There must be a stronger law. There must be accountability, and that's what we're all here for. Even though I cannot stand here and say these words myself, I'm still speaking. Please listen, please act, and please help protect the children who cannot protect themselves. Yes.
Good day. Today I speak to you on behalf of my foster fraternity members and myself. I entered foster care as an abandoned infant, left at a hospital, and I aged out at 21. I had no known biological family. Therefore, no one checked on me or visited. One of my earliest memories is from when I was 3 years old. It's of me being sexually abused, a devastating experience that was just one of many forms of abuse that I experienced and I endured. When I was in foster care, I lived in multiple foster homes throughout New York City, and I was abused in many of those homes, which was managed by a nonprofit agency. Caseworkers didn't visit me very often. However, I do recall a caseworker who came to see me, and I told her about their sexual abuse occurring in the home. She told me she'd take care of it, but no one ever came. No one came to talk to me, no one followed up. The abuse continued. The trauma has had a long-term impact on my life and continues to affect me. To me, It seems like foster children in New York simply don't matter. As no one wants to take responsibility for the abuse that I endured while the government was literally responsible for me from infancy through adulthood, like literally. I had no biological parents, so my parents literally was the government. I was left by my mom. I was abandoned, taken in by New York City, then abandoned again, and left to fend for myself in strangers' homes where I was continually abused with no one to turn to. I'm asking members of House and the Senate to hold all aspects of government in New York and not-for-profit agencies accountable for negligent oversight of children and youth in foster care system by passing and enacting the necessary laws that protect children and youth who are in the foster care system. I'd like the opportunity to tell my story the same way other sexual abuse victims that were in schools, churches, and by celebrities, they had those opportunities to tell theirs and to be heard. Children who are in foster care matter just as much as they do. So I urge everyone to take this responsibility seriously and hopefully work towards meaningful change. Thank you.
My name is Valko. I'm 76. I was placed in the system when I was 10. I had, the first 2 years, I had 12 black eyes. I was unlistened to, unprotected, and I'm here today just to support and add voice to all of our stories. I'm here today to, for the next generation, for my grandsons, and for the voiceless, and for all of us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. First and foremost, I want to thank Herman Law Firm.
Yes. Yes.
For all they do.
Yes.
For child sex victims and for giving me the opportunity to stand here today and be heard.
Yes.
Give me a sec. I practiced. I went into foster care with my 5 siblings. We were removed from a horrific situation of extreme abuse. My sister was stabbed in the head and she's in a home and the knife tip is still in her head. And I look after her. And I'm here because I want to give a voice to all the children, all of us. Okay? It shouldn't happen. It should never happen. I can tell you this. There are monsters that hide amongst us. And they can belong to any organization, religion, nonprofit, or otherwise. They can hold powerful positions and titles. It's a sad fact. All children deserve protection from these predators. Foster children are especially vulnerable because they are without their parents' protection. It's society's responsibility to protect its children. Foster children don't deserve any less. People are being paid for the care. There's a lot of money that exchanges hands.
Yes.
In order to protect children and provide safety, besides just having policies in place, we have to have accountability to those policies. What good are the policies if we don't hold people accountable? Foster kids matter. I mattered. I came here today because for foster children to be unprotected under the law without equal justice was not only insulting, hurtful, and very disturbing to me. And I hope it is to everyone that's listening. We're talking about children, our future. This is all of our future. What do you think becomes of us and our children? We're all members of society. No children should be left with monsters. I told, and I was incarcerated in Spofford. I don't have any family. I didn't have anybody that even knew I was there. You could all go home and look up Spofford. I'm alive.
You see my skin? I'm alive, okay? And I'm not a silent damnation, and neither is anyone in this room, okay? Thank you for your time.
Drop the mic.
Hello. My name is Jamie. I was in foster care when I was a child. All my siblings ended up in foster care. The biggest problem I had with foster care was that I was introduced to sex and mental abuse at a very early age by my foster mother and her child. Me, my sister, and my brother, we were all sexually abused, raped in front of us, and also was forced to touch each other as well. The worst part about it is that the abuse didn't stop. When we left, finally, Children's Arm decided to do something about it. The city solution was to put us in another organization, then another organization, then another organization. So how is it that they're not responsible, but when they had all the power? They had all the power, they had all the money, they picked and chose who could get where and who could be put where. They did everything. I had no say. So what happened to me are the consequences that I started questioning my sexuality. I became extremely violent. I was lashing out on everybody. I consider myself one of the lucky ones. But my sister was diagnosed borderline psychotic. She has mental episodes. My brother didn't learn how to control his temper. He paid his consequences for that. So did I. But I came close to actually killing people, joined gangs, did drugs. The list goes on and didn't want to stop, to a point where I became extremely sexual with women. I couldn't have sex with women in a way that was loving, caring, and matter. It was just completely abuse. It was rough. It was enjoyable. I changed. I came close to committing suicide multiple times, where I found faith and I got with Jesus, and that's my coding. But if it didn't have that, I probably would have been one of the forgotten voices. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name is A.S. First, I'd like to say, after hearing a lot of the stories, I actually started that I didn't get placed in foster care over, being in a bad home or anything like that. I was a normal rebellious teenager, and I skipped school, and I wanted to hang out with friends. And because of that, the school pressed charges, and family court, they placed me into foster care. And I drove 6 hours to get here. We come from Erie County. I hear a lot of stories from New York City, but we're from Erie County. And I'd like to say that I'm from an abusive foster home and a broken system. I told my caseworker in front of my foster parents, and my caseworker got up and walked out of the house and left me sitting there in front of my foster parents. I have severe PTSD, which makes this extremely hard. I'm up here in panic mode right now. Thank you. But with that being said, I'm here to stand and speak up for me and for all the victims. Things need to change, and everyone involved needs to be held accountable. Abuse shouldn't happen, and especially by people who are supposed to help and protect us. Passing the buck, sweeping it under the rug, is not helping victims and not helping to put a stop to this. We need to start making everyone held accountable so things can change. It starts here with this bill. So please vote yes and pass it and change innocent lives.
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is, one of my nicknames is Smitty. So I'll tell you my name is Smitty. Um, um, I was abandoned as a child. My mother died from a heroin overdose. I ended up with non-relative caregivers, which in turn, I ended up in foster care system. I was taken to 1463 Pacific Street by Little Flower, and immediately I started being trafficked. I was 11, 12 years old. I was sexually trafficked over 100 times. I see a monster before they walk in that door, thanks to that. 60% of the children sexually trafficked in the United States of America come from the foster care system. I don't care about the rest of the world. Sorry. Talking about 60% of our children in this country, the country I love most in the world, and the city I love most in the world, New York City. 60% come from there. And what it does to the rest of your life, it goes with you. I heard a commonality here about, it wasn't mentioned, but it's generational trauma, the hurt that we take, that our children endure. I'm a grandmother now, and my grandson is 12, and one time when he was 7, I said such a loving thing to him, and my adult daughter was standing there, and it's not her child, it's her brother's child, my son, and she said, I wish you'd said nice things to me like that when I was 7. I said, well, now I know better, so now I do better. Now I know better, so now I do better, but I didn't know any better. I couldn't keep a job if my fucking life depended on it. I couldn't keep a job. If I didn't get fired, I'd quit. Right after I made changes and made things positive for whatever organization I was working for, it's time for me to go. I gotta bounce, because another monster walked in the door. And this law needs to pass, not just for the children, but generations. Okay, because this is generational. And anybody that votes against this law does not care about tomorrow or our children or our children's children, because it is generational. Thank you so much to Herman Law, because I never imagined the opportunity to talk about this in public. Never imagined it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Marcina Edwards. Me and my sister are from Dutchess County. We were placed in foster care together young. I'm asking that the governor please pass this law. I'm very familiar that she's passed the New York Domestic Violence Survivor Funding Packages. There's like 6 packages where she helps domestic violence survivors. I'm one of them, and the reason why I'm one of them is because I was abused as a child in foster care, and I was never taught that my life wasn't normal. So abuse and abuse and abuse until finally 2018, something happened traumatic, and I found out that it wasn't a normal life I was living. I'm pleading for the governor to do this because every time something goes wrong, this state is who we have to go to, says the parents, the group homes, and anybody else. If you need more socks, you have to ask the state. If you want to see your parents, you have to ask the state. So just small examples. I believe the state definitely needs to have accountability to make us safe and stop putting us off on other people. I'm fighting for the future. I'm I'm fighting for the past. And I want to help teach children that all abuse is wrong and none of it is acceptable. Thank you, Herman's Law.
Thank you all. Looks like we have one last person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I wasn't going to talk because there's so many of us, but my name's Lorraine. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. I went into the foster care system because my oldest sister had passed away from lead poisoning. My mom, 14 years old, as a teenager, didn't take care of us. She would hang out on the street corners, and my sister was teething, and back then they had lead in the paint. And my sister died from lead poisoning. I remember sitting in the hospital and watching everybody cry and fall apart. And I couldn't understand what was really going on. Anyway, make a long story short, me and my younger sister were put into the Angel Guardian Home, which is on 12th Avenue in Brooklyn. From there, we were sitting in the hallway on a bench, and there was a couple, a man and a woman, that were talking through a window and to a nun. They were Dominicans, and make a long story short, we got in the car with them, and there were two daughters, an older and a younger, that were their biological daughters. When we pulled up in front of the house in Farmingdale, Long Island, and we got out of the car, my foster mother looked at me and said, "Just remember why you're here. They wouldn't separate the siblings." From that point on, it was nothing but pure hell. I got punished for things that my sister did. I found out when I was about 8 years old that I had a brother. Went there, and I begged them to take him in, and they did. It was a big mistake because they were abusing him too. I finally got to the point where I just couldn't take it no more. By the time I reached 8 years old, I found out what a divorce meant, and I guess that was because of what was going on with the guy that was messing with me. I don't know if they realized that maybe he was doing it to his own daughter or something, but he was gone. Well, the next guy took over. Punchline, by the time I was 13, I asked my real mom to take me home. I went from the frying pan into the fire. I hope to God you guys pass this bill, because the future of our kids that are growing up now don't need to suffer like the many of us here have. It's just not right that kids don't have a voice and animals do. I was saying it just outside. If you hurt an animal, you go to jail. If you hurt a kid and they don't believe you, you don't do nothing. So please pass this bill.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alfred. I hear we've heard from a lot of women. I want everyone to also know that I am a man, and I too grew up in the foster care system since I was about 2 years old, and also have been sexually abused, raped, and mentally abused, and stand here today as a survivor. This bill needs to be passed. I am a survivor, but there are so many that have not survived and have not succeeded, have not been able to be here to allow their voices to be heard. We all, as survivors, are speaking on their behalves as well. Please, please pass this bill. It's not just women, it's not just men, it's children from the past, from the future. They all need to be protected. Thank you.
Thank you all for your bravery and for sharing your story.